B-Leaguers, how you going? It's your boy here, Dan, at the B-League Says, coming at you with another B-Leagues Pick'em show. I guess. Yes, here we are. We're going to talk about underdog pick'em props on behalf of Going for Two Live. Before I do, as always, head on over to underdogfantasy.com, promo code GF2 for 100% match deposit up to 250 big ones. Dollars, not $1,000, $250. Let's not get this confused, but let's put that to bed. But as always, please check the ticker underneath. As always, this is a Wednesday. I'm pre-recording this for Sunday's show, and we're going to go from there. But we're going to look at Sunday's pick and props. We've already been over Thursday. Fingers crossed. I can't tell into the future, but I reckon we had a good week. And we're going to talk about a couple of props that I like for Sunday morning's games, or all of Sunday's games, actually. Last week was a little bit all over the place because of the Friday game. It was just a little bit erratic, so we kind of split it up into four. But we're going to do this, and hopefully we'll have a Monday night show as well. But we're going to talk about a handful of picks that I like over at Underdog Fantasy. And the first one's going to be Jonathan Taylor. He had a quiet week last week against the Texans. I think a lot of people will. But we're going to go Jonathan Taylor over 74.5 rush yards at Green Bay this week. That sounds like a really enticing game. Good luck to Jordan Love in his recovery from a strained MCL. Go find the doc over in our Discord. Ask him some questions about that if you haven't. But we're going to get on with Jonathan Taylor and why I think over 74.5 rush yards at Green Bay. Look, it wasn't the best day. He had 48 yards against the Texans, but that was on the back of a nice 16. He had a nice volume of attempts, 16 rush attempts. That was good to see. The Texans' run D was having a day, and credit to them. I'm not discouraged by this at all if the volume keeps up. And look, the Packers got absolutely wrecked on the ground by Saquon Barkley week one. A powerful back with good hands next to a mobile quarterback and a stout offensive line. You see where I'm going with the similarities. Jonathan Taylor, a powerful back with good hands next to a mobile quarterback and a stout offensive line. I like where this is going. Barkley absolutely pumped the life out of him for 100 rush yards and a couple scores in week one. It feels familiar. And the bend, don't break offense of the Packers, that DNA is still in them, I fear. Their run defense, they're going to let people run all over them. I feel like it's going to happen all year. Despite changing the staff, I really feel like their run D is going to struggle this year, and it showed already week one. I know what they had against the Eagles, but I feel like the Colts aren't going to be too much different on the ground. Pick number 2, it's going to be Chris Olave. Under 53.5 receiving yards at Dallas in week 2. I am absolutely terrified for Olave this week. His quiet matchup last week versus Carolina going 2 for 11 would seem flukish, but his end-of-season run last year saw his final 4 games go up into the hundreds and then down into the 20s. This is not really uncommon for him if this is how that's going to go. The problem with this is we have no idea from what the Saints, and they absolutely beat the living piss out of Carolina last week, but we have no idea if this is what they are, and if this is what they are, then this could be where Olave is, and I don't like that. I don't like the idea of this. Beating up on the Panthers is something that even Chase Claypool could do, and the fact that he had zero influence on this game, and maybe he didn't have to have that much of an influence, but it says a lot about him in week one. Look, Dallas in 2023, they gave up the 7th fewest yards to receivers, and look, even more potent with Mike Zimmer at the helm. On the road, they kept everything in Cleveland quiet. Not an easy place to go with very talented receivers as well. They absolutely smashed the Browns. No Browns wide receiver had over 25 yards. If Dallas at home get off to a hot start, I can see Derek Carr following similar to Deshaun Watson's footsteps on the football field. Put that disclaimer in there. Pick number 3, we're going to go with Brian Robinson. I love Brian Robinson this week. Higher than 51.5 rush yards against the miserable New York Giants. Look, he looked really good in the season opener at Tampa last week. Always a stout run defense. Managed to go 12 for 40. He did go 3 for 43 through the air, which he has in his locker. We've seen him do it last year. People would believe it. They also have Austin Eckler. He can go through the air. He's really good at it. His history says this is a smash spot. In 4 career games versus the Giants, he has a healthy 70 yards per carry average with 2 games over 88 rush yards in that as well. Form is on his side. Form isn't on the Giants side, however. They got absolutely smashed by Aaron Jones with 14 attempts for 94 and a touchdown. The Giants are miserable. Back Brian Robinson, get on him. Pick number 4, we're going to go Cortland Sutton lower than 42.5 receiving yards versus Pittsburgh. Look, I like Cortland Sutton. I really do. I like that Nix and Peyton like Sutton. I think that's great. I like the 12 targets he was fed in the season opener against Seattle. But the truth is the volume won't be enough against a team that absolutely destroyed the passing offense of everyone's favorite person, everyone's favorite love child this year, Atlanta. Everyone was on Cousins, London, Pitts. Pitts had a decent game. They're looking at Darnell Mooney as well. Everyone loves everything about Atlanta. and they got absolutely wrecked by the Steelers in week 1. No one had any more hype than them this year. Ray McLeod was their best receiver. It was a weird outlier game from him, but Darnell Mooney, 1 for 15. Drake London, 2 for 15. If the Broncos O-line is as bad as the Falcons, and I'm pretty sure it still is, look, then it's going to be a rough day. Nix was able to get away and make some plays, which we know Kirk Cousins wasn't able to do. He was stepping back. He wasn't doing anything. TJ Watt was killing him. TJ Watt was having a field day. But it was one of those things, I think maybe he can get away with it a little bit next. And if that's the case, maybe Sutton can break away. But I think it might be lockdown city for him in week 2. And pick number 5, we're going to look at Nico Collins. I like Nico Collins this week. I know Chicago's on the rebound. I know they're on the rebound. I had a decent win last week. Their defense is pretty damn good. But I mean, their team and franchise as a whole, I like what they're doing. But Nico Collins over 71.5 against it. Look, I half believe in that Bears defense, and I'm not surprised at what they did to Will Levis and the Titans. But there's a pretty massive discrepancy between the Titans, who can be decent, and the Texans, who are contenders. There is a massive difference. And I'm not really one to punch ahead with being cautious, but first we can look at the wheels up on this. Look, it's Collins and Diggs getting the run here. Collins isn't taking the backward step. We thought maybe that might have been different with him and Diggs and Dell. No, Collins is the guy. And, it's a home opener, bright lights. He's going to dance, I think, this week. Nothing real too scientific. I have a good feeling about what they're going to be able to do. And look, the Chicago defense on the ground, they're pretty decent, I think. Pollard had an okay week against them though last week, so that might be a way through for Joe Mixon. However, I feel like through the air, it's just way too overpowering. You're looking at Schultz, Diggs, Dell, and of course Nico Collins, 71.5 for a guy that can go up over 100, 120 any given time. I feel like is an easy one. We're going to recap this. It's Sunday's games, all from 1 o'clock through prime time. We're having a look at this. Pick number 1 is going to be Jonathan Taylor over 74.5 or higher than 74.5 rush yards at Green Bay. Pick 2, Chris Olave, lower than 53.5 receiving yards at Dallas. Pick number 3, Brian Robinson, higher than 51.5 rush yards at New York Giants. Pick number 4, Cortland Sutton, lower than 42.5 receiving yards versus Pittsburgh. And pick number 5 is Nico Collins, higher than 71.5, not 73, 71.5 receiving yards at Chicago. But hey, by the time we hit Sunday, it might be 73, who knows. As always, you can find me at the B League Says, wherever you find, whatever you find, it doesn't really matter. I will be hanging about as well. Stick about. We're going to be looking at the Sunday Starts and Sits show with Kyle Topher and Jamie. They had a hell of a week last week, a whole bunch of fun as well. Have a great week. Let's get some wins up our sleeve. Have a good one. Cheers.